Hi, I'm Meg.
And I'm David.
Welcome to The Average Vegans, a podcast to help you live an attainable vegan lifestyle. We're not the ripped influencer vegans you hear about in other podcasts. We're just some ordinary people living in the South, eating plants and loving animals.
And on this episode, we're discussing vegan seafood and bringing you seafood. I would normally say sea life, but in this context, it is vegetables,
Oh,
so does seafood.
I like the sea life. I
Because there is
like
no
that.
seafood, there is only sea
That's
life.
right. That's
Yes.
right. That's right.
Yep.
Um, yes, we're talking about vegan seafood because we recently ate every single option on a vegan seafood truck. So it's kind of been on our mind and we wanted to talk about
Oh,
it.
it was so good, too.
It was, oh, I still think about it, but it's a traveling food truck. We'll get to it. So they're not coming back anytime soon. So we're just going to kind of talk
What?
about vegan seafood in the meantime, and give them a little shout out later in the episode. But I do want to say, whenever you ask a vegan, like, what's the one thing you miss, or what was the hardest thing to give up when you became vegan? Um, some people say cheese, which was not a problem for me. I had no issues giving it up. Don't miss it. Ugh, no. Um, I've heard people say eggs because I don't know, they just seem obsessed with that. That was soups easy to give up because it grosses me out. So none of that has been hard. I don't miss meat. I don't miss any of that. But like seafood, I do miss. It makes me feel guilty to say those words.
Nothing wrong with that.
But
Nothing wrong with it.
I'm a Florida girl, born and raised South Florida to be specific, because it does make a difference. Just saying. From West Palm Beach, so seafood was a big part of my life. Whenever we had a little bit of money, that was something that we would indulge on. Um, and it is that taste of fishiness and seafood and all that. It does something I do miss. But there are vegan alternatives now, which I wonder if vegans, like, probably like even 10 years ago when you went vegan, this probably was like never even a concept, right?
Oh,
Like
no.
there was no way,
There's
right?
nothing. I actually, we can get into it, but I've actually made vegan crab cakes before you could even remotely even do anything close to it.
That's so
Yeah,
interesting.
it was weird. But
Yeah.
I'll get into that when we go a little deeper.
Right. Okay, so we are going to talk a little bit about why choosing vegan seafood is a great option. And before we get into that, I do want to mention that we did talk a lot about kind of the sea and animals that live in the sea and the things that are happening in our oceans. In episode 28, we talked about the documentary Seaspiracy. So a lot of the information about the damages that have been done to our oceans and our ecosystems and all of that stuff can be heard in that episode. We're going to talk a little bit about it now, but just know you can go back and get even more information. What's really interesting, I'll never forget this, is after I watched that documentary and we recorded this episode, I then came downstairs because I told my husband I was recording this, and I came
Uh,
downstairs and he was watching it. And I was like, "Ooh, look at you." And he's like, "Well, I hate all seafood, so this isn't so hard for me to like never eat again. So now let's just talk." Like, he just wanted to educate himself on why it's bad for him, but he's
yeah,
like, I could never eat it again and be fine.
yeah.
So
Once you
it's
know,
just
you cannot unknow.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a great documentary to watch if you have no idea kind of what's going on in our oceans. That is a perfect place to start. That episode goes over a lot of the details, and we'll get into it now. I'm sure David's going to go on his awesome spiels that I love so
Okay,
much.
I'll try to keep it down. Well, I was thinking about it too. We were putting this together. I'm like, I could hear people like, well, why even do that? We just eat vegetables. Why people want to do that? And I, I, I I think the first thing you talk about, like, why somebody wanted. I think I saw a TikTok. There's a guy I follow on TikTok, and good guy. He mostly does like social commentary, political commentary, but now and then it's something kind of like funny kind of thing. And then he did a thing of like, he goes like, if you want to be vegan, that's great. Paleo, vegetarian, whatever you do, keto, that's fine. But why do this shit? And it was like some company was making like a plant-based burger, but they put real bacon on it and real cheese on it. And I commented, I was like, okay, look, we didn't ask for this. Like, as vegan for 10 years, we didn't ask for this. We find this stupid too. People ask us this every time this happens. It's dumb, and we know it's dumb.
It's so dumb.
Right. But I say that because a lot of people go into like, why would you want burgers? Why would you want something that's meat-shaped, right? And I always say a cow's meat-shaped.
Exactly.
Humans are meat-shaped. A burger is burger-shaped. How else you can put it on a bun and have it a tasty treat, right?
Right.
So, but why would somebody want to like gravitate towards like what we call it vegan seafood? And some of it is just the ability to share dishes with friends, right? You're plant-based, person's not, but you both want to have, sushi or crab cakes or crab ragoons or whatever, right? So having the alternative, the option to do that, you can have those dishes with friends, and you can find some of these things like in like grocery stores too, frozen you can make, and you can have share the dishes with friends, and a lot of times it's a healthier option as well.
Right. I also feel like it kind of is another way to get people to look at a vegan lifestyle as an option, because you don't have to give things up per se. Perhaps vegan seafood isn't exactly the same, but if someone is like dragging their feet because they can't give up, crab cakes or something, right, or coconut shrimp, which is my favorite, there are options now. And I think that's, again, giving people that choice to choose a vegan lifestyle, because you do have vegan seafood. It's there. It's an option. I just think that's cool. Kind of like sweet talk them. Listen, I got vegan shrimp over here. Come on, join me.
Yeah, I think right. It's the thing with like some like the Impossible burgers, and apparently Possible or Beyond One was coming out with steak. Apparently that's their next thing. So
I saw
that should be interesting. Yeah, and it kind of like to your point, you grew up eating it, and that's like why you go to it. Some people do. It's something they grew up on. Like but like a lot of people who are vegan weren't vegan when they were born. They were raised omnivore. So you want ribs and you want the burgers and you want this and the fish and that and the other, right? Because it's part of just your heritage. Something you grew up eating. It's almost comforting.
Right. Exactly.
So that and to some point, it's got to be cultural significance. If you grew up with, maybe it's religious or it's part of your overall culture. You grew up in another country where fish or seafood was a big part of your diet.
Right.
Having that part of your culture, part of your heritage, follow along with you in that change to a plant-based diet, and into your life might be something you're interested in. So those are really the reasons I have found that most people, including myself, move towards. For me, it's cultural. I'm born in the South. There's a place down the road called the Vegan Grill, and they have like vegan oxtail and vegan.
Yep.
They have stuff that I don't remember going to be an oxtail, but oxtail is a very common soul food eaten in the South. They have those options. So having something that's culturally significant, whether it be, again, religious, cultural, or something you just grew up eating, can be comforting, and also just kind of make you feel like you're still kind of like part of the group, which I think when you're vegan, you kind of feel like an outsider at times. But I think that's probably the biggest reason. At least I've heard and I've dealt with.
Yeah, I feel like there are. I guess there's probably dishes, as someone like you who grew up in the South, that when you have them, it does like bring back those memories of the times in your past where you've had that dish. And the same thing happens to me when I, bite into the vegan coconut shrimp that we had that other day. I was just like brought back to my childhood of that being my favorite thing to order. And it was like, I have not had this since over 7 years now. Like, that's so fun.
You went right for it.
I don't have to give. I almost hit your hand. I was like, did it. It was just, it's so nice to know that, again, you don't have to give up everything to not kill animals and just live a cruelty-free vegan lifestyle. Like, I can still have a coconut shrimp that it was truly just as good. Oh, it's so exciting. So exciting.
But I mean, kind of moving on from like why, like not only that, it's the effects on the body effects on the environment. I mean, we can go into the how the fishing industry affects the environment. We've done that already in the previous episode, episode 28. Go check it out. Great episode. Little self plug. But I mean, not only that, there's overfishing. They move so many fish from the waters. I think we're projected, and again, read it, the statistic. I think it was like 2048 projected to like basically outfish the oceans. Not only that, even we don't fish for everything. Taking a large amount of one type of fish outside of the ocean damages other ecosystems. They actually eat those fish naturally anyway.
Right. This is totally a tangent that has nothing, I mean, kind of to do with the subject, but not super.
Go crazy. Go crazy.
I just went to on vacation to Tybee Island, near Savannah, Georgia, and we were on the pier, and it was such a beautiful night, and there were these guys next to us fishing, and of course I'm like putting my vegan hex on them and hoping they don't catch anything, because I'm just like, hope your lines break. But they did catch something, and I bolted. I like basically ran away. The second I saw that they were about to bring some poor living creature out of the water, I ran to the other side so that I didn't have to see what was happening. And all these people are like crowding around to see what it is, and I'm like, it's a poor gasping for air baby that doesn't need to be taken out of the water. But I was just like, nope. My body I didn't even think, it didn't even occur to me to turn around and walk away. I just immediately was like, no, and ran. It was horrible. I hate fishing.
No, I do the same thing.
Makes me so sad.
Yeah, I have friends obviously who fish because I'm in South or whatever, but I'm just going like nope. Especially
and it's crazy because my father was like a champion fisherman. Like, he was in the newspapers, he was well known for it. That was part of my childhood, and he would be very upset with me. Sorry, Dad, but listen, he would also be proud of me for sticking up for what I believe in. But yeah, it's weird to like have grown up thinking, it's kind of, I guess, also the same way when it comes to religion. You think one way for so long in your life, and then suddenly you're like, no. That's so, all those times I watched my dad fish till the wee hours of the morning, and I'm like, that's horrible. I could never do that now. It's crazy, the things that you used to do.
It gets normalized. You don't really think about it.
Yeah. Oh, so crazy.
Oh yeah, no, I totally get it. I grew up fishing and catching catfish, and how we would take care of catfish is very upsetting, very brutal.
Yes. I know.
It. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Horrible.
Obviously, don't want to talk about it, but yeah.
Yeah, it'll make us cry.
Yeah. So
let's just cry about some more stuff.
But we talked about this in episode 28, but something that I think is important to highlight when it comes to how they affect how the fishing industry affects the environment is bottom trawling, which is still just. It's just it's like the shotgun way of fishing. They just drag nets across the bottom floor, and just what they catch is what they catch, right? And what they catch is what they catch. It kicks. Not only does it catch things they don't want to catch, and then they end up killing it anyway. And you take it out, you throw it back. Usually it's injured to the point where it can't survive, live anyway. But not only that, it kicks up sediment. I don't think we talked about this in 28. I don't remember.
I don't think we did either, because it just occurred to me that would happen. Like, I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, and I was reading more about it. I was like, oh shit, I didn't think about that. But it kicks up sediment, and it kicks up sediment for miles, and that blocks out the sun, and it actually kills plant reefs. It kills reefs, but also kills off plant life that other organisms use to hide in. They eat it and they feed off it and everything else. It kills those plants, which damages more ecosystems. And some people don't realize that a coral is alive.
Right. Yes.
It's not just a rock. It's actually alive.
Mm-hmm.
So, like it's alive. But it kills that. So yeah, it causes a lot more damage there. And it was, I think it was like 95% of the global ocean damage is direct from the trawling.
I could see that, because it's just so overall damaging. So like, if you're fishing with a pole, you're pulling up one fish at a time.
Right.
If you're using a net and just dragging the ocean floor, you're just fucking everything up as you go along. Like, that's just
Right.
Lazy.
And we
You're
talked about
lazy.
very, and we talked about in episode 28 how like those nets get left behind as well, and that makes it so
Yes.
much of the ocean um, trash in the ocean. So that in itself is just just trawling along alone is bad. Then we can damage ecosystems are pulling too many fish out of the ocean.
Right.
The ocean.
Insanity.
Right. And we could get into the actual like fish farms and that cause dead zones, things like that. But again, episode 28 goes a lot more into that.
Yes.
But one thing we got to keep in mind is the effects on the body. I know if sea life turned into food gets like hyped up as having those omega-3 fatty acids and being so good for this, that, and the other thing, which is true. It's there. But there's also better, more bioavailable places to get that through nuts, seeds, legumes, walnuts, chia seeds, hemp seeds, stuff like that. But we do have typical animal protein issues where one issue we have with the animal proteins is the amino acid levels. Because the level of amino acids is so high in the ratios, it triggers LGF1, I think it is, to be released from the liver, and that is what triggers cell growth, because that tells your body make new cells, which is what we also call cancer. Right. So that's why animal proteins tend to be linked towards colon cancer, breast cancer, testicular cancer, ovarian cancer, things like that. It's because dairy and also animal proteins in general contribute to that because it tells the body to do these things. Where you're going to get the same amino acids from a plant-based option, plant-based protein, but it doesn't have the ratio so high, so it's not going to trigger that release of LGF1. So so you do still have those issues with those animal-based proteins. You're not going to get the plant-based protein. Again, it's also known that I say again, like I've already said it. It's also, but it's fairly well known that because there's a concern with mercury when it comes to that.
Yes.
So we have to be aware of that. Not only that, because of the pollution we have in the oceans and other waterways, we have microplastics and other general pollutions. So if you get
microplastics in seafood freaks me out.
Yeah.
So hardcore.
Yeah.
Like oh my God. That is such a scary concept in my brain. Like, I don't know why that freaks me out so hardcore. It's just like, it just grosses me out so much. And people don't really think about it, or they don't know about it, but they also, I feel like they just like blow it aside. Like, oh, it's no big deal. It's just microplastics. It's fine. No,
it gets in your gut biome. It gets into your muscle tissue. It can cause a bunch of other. It can cause a lot of health issues. Know that the pollutions in general. Like, there's a few places I've fished when I was younger where you couldn't keep the fish. You actually had to throw them back. You went there for just like sport because the water's polluted. It's usually because it has wastewater being dumped into it somewhere. Mm-hmm. So you have wastewater getting dumped into it. You have fertilizers. You have other chemicals that are upstream that can get into the sea life, and then you consume it, and you have risk of issues there, especially if you eat it regularly. And I'm not going to say anything like unless you do within moderation. I hate the phrase in moderation because define moderation. Along with moderation, what does moderation mean? Like once, twice, 3 times, lady? What does that mean?
You make the rules for your own moderation.
Right. So unless there's a hard rule, what it means exactly. But yeah, so you have effects on the environment, you have effects on your physical self, and there's so much better options. I will say before we go into it, some of the options for vegan seafood aren't higher in protein. There are some things like there's like the faux fish that's you can get at GTFO's vegan, I think is the website. There's really cool like looks like salmon or tuna. You can make sushi with. It's very little protein in it. So be wary as we go into this. We're talking about what your seafood alternatives are. If you're worried about it being a protein source, you might need to pair it with something else. Whether it be rice or another protein. If you want,
that is a good point to put. So I would not have said that. So.
Yeah, I sort of, guys. To me, talking about protein earlier, I want to go into there. People go like, "Well, those substances don't have protein in them." That's true. Some don't have much. So you definitely want to pair it with something else. Typically, especially you do like an Asian dish, you do with rice something like that. It'll give you a good amount of protein and a good amino acid profile.
So let's talk a little bit about our experience with Oh My Cod vegan seafood truck.
Really?
Um, they are a traveling vegan seafood truck, and they visited Atlanta, I don't know, like 2 months ago, something like that. So David and I ventured there. It was quite the drive, and it was worth every bit. So we literally split the menu and got every single thing. I think there was like one giant platter thing we didn't get because it was, unnecessary. But we got every single thing. So I'm going to read to you what we tried. We had some crabby spring rolls, coconut shrimp, crabby cakes, yucca fries, whatever. Vegan fish and chips, vegan fried shrimp, and lobster mac and cheese.
Oh.
Um, I'm gonna tell you right now, the coconut shrimp were my favorite thing on that menu. Oh, they're so good, so good. What was your favorite?
That's hard. The lobster mac and cheese,
Yes.
that's my jam. I like the spring rolls.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Um, but I guess I have spring rolls all the time. So
It's true.
I say lobster mac and cheese and the fish and chips.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I
Cool.
love fish and
Cool.
chips. I would eat 3 servings of that if I could, but it's also
Yeah.
fried. I probably should.
Oh my gosh. And we ate everything.
Yes.
So when the when the food came, I was like, perhaps we went overboard. No, we devoured it. It was so good.
Yeah.
So look them up on Facebook. Find out if they're coming anywhere near you. And if they are, you run and you get
Run, don't
everything.
walk. Well,
Coconut shrimp for sure.
this is the third time I've done it too.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Because the first time I went, I actually took my mom for Mother's Day a few
Oh,
years ago.
yeah.
Yeah, and she's not vegan. She has no interest in being vegan. But I was like, it was Mother's Day, and I'm like, what? She doesn't like ask for anything. I'm like, what? Let's go do let's do something. I got her flowers. Like, let's go. I literally was on my way to her house. Like, hey, there's a vegan pop up at a brewery near you guys. You want to go eat some vegan seafood? She's like, okay. I'm like, all right, let's do this. And she coconut shrimp was her jam. She was like super. She's like that's
so
my
good.
shit. And she told me, she goes, if you didn't tell me, I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
like straight up. She was like this. She was like this. I'd eat this. Like this passes. I wouldn't know if you didn't tell me. I would assume it was just like shrimp and fish and lobster and stuff. I wouldn't have no idea.
Yeah, the shrimp not only tastes legit, it looks legit.
Yeah.
So like they have perfected that kind of pink white color and the texture. It is so authentic. The crab, like imitation kind of crab, vegan crab, whatever, is definitely on point where it's kind of flaky. So you have that kind of texture of it too. Same with the fish, it's also flaky. You would legit not know if you weren't, very much investigating what you're eating. So I did a little bit of research to kind of see what you would make vegan seafood from. There are brands, which we'll talk about at the end, that you can buy just like bags of vegan shrimp. It is difficult to find in person, but there's also, you can obviously order online as well, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So I found that vegan shrimp can be made from cognac. Is that what we're calling it?
Yeah.
A seaweed base. Oh, you say it, David. Hydrocolloids.
Hydrocolloids.
Okay, I was close.
Pretty good.
Which helps kind of mimic the taste and the texture of real shrimp. It's also a great substitute for animal gelatin, which I didn't know. That was pretty interesting. Yeah. So there, cognac is also called an elephant yam, mainly used in the Southeast Asian cooking, and now it's used for more plant-based seafood products. So there's a lot of things you can make with this I don't know, what do you want to call it, this ingredient, I guess.
Yeah.
So you can use that to also make the vegan fish. So they do that, but there's also a vegetable you can use. So the hearts of palm are very they're just so like open to being used as seafood, right? So it's got kind of that cool texture of like a fish or a crab cake, where it is flaky but also like smooth, if that makes any sense. Like you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Um
purple carrot. There was a recipe to use hearts of palm to make a crab cake, I think.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
Oh, there was. You're
yeah.
right. I forgot about that.
And
So you, go ahead.
I'll say yeah, and that's see, I made crab cakes years ago using chickpeas.
Yeah, I was just gonna say because chickpeas can taste very like fishy in a way.
Right.
So you can use chickpeas to make tuna fish, like like a kind of like tuna fish. And so the same thing can be used for making crab cakes. So you can do chickpeas, hearts of palm, zucchini, and of course, like an Old Bay seasoning, which brings in that kind of seafood flavor. They can also, crab cakes can be made from jackfruit. So if you like that texture, which again is kind of like that flaky but smooth, interesting, like fish texture. Same thing can be used for vegan fish, hearts of palm or cognac, or squash blossoms or banana blossoms. So if you're a gardener like I am and you grow squash or zucchinis and you have flowers, the beautiful orange yellow flowers, you can take those off the plant and use them to make like a vegan fish. David and I were talking about how we've seen them stuffed with like a filling of some sort to kind of make a stuffed squash blossom.
Mm-hmm.
So their tastes so good. And again, you use like Old Bay or seasoning and breadcrumbs and even some nori to add like a little bit of like a seaweed flavor to it, and you have a vegan fish. I mean, it's you think it's like all kinds of crazy ingredients put together, but really it's just like, you know, hearts of palm and some spices, and it just makes a vegan fish. It's so interesting.
Oh my cod, they're the ones they use banana blossoms
Yes.
for their cod to make their fish and chips. Creepy, super creepy. It's super good.
It's so good. So I have a yellow squash plant, a zucchini plant, and a banana tree. So I'm very tempted at some point to just take a blossom off of something
Do
and
it.
try
They're
this. So
crazy.
we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Oh, this last one. Oh my gosh. A good lobster alternative is lion's mane mushrooms. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
they have
If
like
I
a very lobstery kind of a flavor to them, which is surprising.
Oh, they're
Um,
so good.
yeah,
They
yeah.
can also be made into like a scallop. So, or no, the oyster. It's
Oyster
the
mushroom. Yeah,
oyster ones. Yeah.
king oyster mushrooms. Yeah.
I use those to make the scallops. So at Cafe Sunflower here in Atlanta, they make a mushroom scallop, and I copied their recipe and made it at
Wow.
home. It's super easy to do, and they taste legit like scallops. So it's the same thing as like you cut them up. They're just like lobster too.
It's like Rob Zombie. I'm gonna go see him soon. Super excited.
So random.
Yes, but Rob Zombie is vegan.
Yes. Okay. You're right. All right.
And
Yeah.
he was on a cooking show, like a competition,
Mm-hmm.
and their challenge for that show was to make a vegan entree, and everyone was like,
Oh.
what the fuck?" And what I like about this is going somewhere. Rob Zombie was like, he goes, and no side dishes. He's like, he goes, everywhere we go,
Ooh.
vegans all we get is side dishes. We just get like a rice pilaf with like a
Yes.
vegetable. No,
Oh my
it
god.
has to be an entree, whatever. And two people just failed. They're like, this is bland, dude. You made me entrees. Whatever. One person won and like blew everyone away, and that's what it did. They used king oyster mushrooms, made these giant scallops. And he was like, this is great. It was like seasoned well. And they had like a little they did have a side dish with it, but it was like part of it. It was like this like little like
Right.
seafood thing. That's it. They used king oyster mushrooms and made a scallop with them, and he loved them.
It's super easy. You literally just use butter and garlic and just kind of baste them the whole time they're cooking, and done. So good. Now I'm gonna crave them until I get
That
some.
sounds pretty good, actually.
I can't find those mushrooms near
I'll
me.
find some, bring come to your house. You make it for me.
Yes,
Bet.
I will
Bet.
actually. They're so good. There are some vegan seafood brands that you can buy. Like I said, some like vegan shrimp and things like that. So there is Good Catch. There is Gardein actually has their crab cakes and their fishless fish,
It's really
both
good.
delicious.
Really good. I'll do fish and chips with the fishless chips things. I'll do the fishless ones. I do that sometimes. Super good.
I will make a fish sandwich, like
Ooh,
an
yeah.
old school McDonald's, like fish fillet
Oh
sandwich.
yeah, that
Like,
sounds pretty
yeah, you
good.
can make
Yeah,
like a little tartar sauce in that bitch, like make your own like kind of flavor. Oh my God, it's so good.
that sounds pretty
So
good.
good. Mawa Vegetarian Market, Bee Leaf, Sophie's Kitchen, the Plant-Based Seafood Company, which is that's a great name,
Perfect.
and Kulina. Those are all brands that sell vegan seafood. So, of course, we want you to give them your money as opposed to other companies that might be pushing out some stuff. So, there are options for you. We find vegan seafood at Buford Farmers Market here in Georgia. You can probably also find it at that H Mart place, which is also like an Asian grocery store. I've never found anything besides the like Gardein options. I've never found any vegan seafood in place else. So
There's they're not all over the country. I know they're not in these. I think they're only United States, but not everywhere. But if you go to a Loving Hut, they usually have like a refrigerated little thing, and they have like a lot of vegan seafood options.
that is a great tip. I totally
Yeah.
forgot about that. Write that in our notes so I can
I,
make
w-
sure to put that in our show notes too.
I wonder. Looks like you're doing it for me.
Okay, fine.
Oh, you're already there doing it. I'm keeping this in, by the way. It's like behind the scenes situation. Also, I think maybe we should do a vegan fish taste test.
We could. Yes. Let's try that.
I
Let's
like
try
that.
that. I
Yeah,
do
I
like
haven't
that.
seen you in person in a while, but good excuse.
Yeah, there you go. That would be fun. Okay, okay. Oh my gosh, now you have me craving it. You are coming over this weekend, so maybe if I can find those mushrooms,
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
make
that's
you
right.
some
Yeah.
scallops. Yeah,
Ooh,
because now I'm going to be thinking about them for the rest of the
get some snacks with
week.
me. I'm hungry.
Okay, so it's not the longest episode we've ever done, but I think this one's really interesting because it is a kind of food that most vegans, new vegans, probably feel like they're never going to experience again. I feel like new vegans that don't know that these options exist are probably like, well, there goes seafood for the rest of my life. I'll never have anything like a shrimp ever again. And now we're telling you, absolutely, you can have something very similar to that that will make you just as satisfied, just as happy. So you
Absolutely.
don't have to kill animals to enjoy food. Imagine that. Love it, love it, love it. So if you know of any other vegan seafood trucks, like food trucks that travel around, please, for the love of everything, tell me because I need more of it.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. If you know of any websites that we can order vegan seafood from, please let us know. And how do you let us know? Anyone? You
She
can
knows.
follow us and let us know on Instagram or Facebook at The Average Vegans, or email us at theaveragevegans@gmail.com. You can obviously listen to this episode and episode 28 on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, or anywhere else you get your podcast fix. Make sure to leave us a review and recommend us to your friends, family, coworkers, strangers, the delivery driver. You can find show notes, links, all that stuff on theaveragevegans.com. And again, we want to hear your recommendations for vegan seafood, some new episode ideas, all that fun stuff. And I guess that's it for this week.
All right. Well, until next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.